Got chrome in my bloodstream. Got a hardwired metal soul. I'm craving serious action. That smack drag drunken roll. Chips are bashing in my top right and hot up my slots are shot. Metal burning neath my skin. I'm chipping in. I'm chipping in. Cyberpunk 2022. What's up, nerds? It is I, the OGGM, who, amongst other things, was one of the playtesters for Gurps Cyberpunk, who wrote the complete Cyberpunk dictionary and wrote a bunch of stuff for our Tosolian games. So, am I more qualified to talk about Cyberpunk than anybody else? Absolutely not. But anyways, apparently, did you know that 2022 was the year Cyberpunk? Multiple Cyberpunk campaigns and games and projects came out and were kickstarted, and almost all of them broke the million club, including the most anticipated role-playing game of the year, Blade Runner. Why 2022? Well, I mean, other than almost every Cyberpunk movie that came out in the late 80s and early 90s predicted that the Cyberpunk future would be by now. And of course, Cyberpunk 2022 is the date, and Cyberpunk 2025. But anyways, a whole bunch of Cyberpunk games came out back then to springboard off the sudden popularity of the Cyberpunk genre in the creative endeavors of the world back then. And now it seems to have happened all over again. In response to the way the world is shaping out, Cyberpunk has become a big story. So let's look at all the Cyberpunk role-playing games that hit the market this year. Of course, off the top, the number one, Blade Runner. He say you Blade Runner. Man, Blade Runner was my 1980s childhood. It was my jam. I've talked more before about how many times I would watch this movie. Like literally, it would be on TV, and I'd watch it because we had early cable back then. And then I saw Blade Runner in the theaters. That's more than once. And then I had a bootleg copy of Blade Runner on VHS. So sometimes I would come home from work, watch Blade Runner, and watch it again, just because I loved it so much. I was always noticing something new. Mine was the monologue version. Later, we had the no monologue version and the extended cut and blah, blah, blah. Deckard is, Deckard isn't, blah, 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 blah. Loved Blade Runner. It shaped who I was for the 80s, man. It opened the door to me for music and technology and just a lifestyle. So when Cyberpunk came out, of course, I wanted to play Cyberpunk and be part of that world because Blade Runner was my childhood. So I was very excited for the announcement of the Blade Runner role-playing game, and I kickstarted it the second it went live. I knew I'd probably never play it or run it. I'm not even sure Blade Runner works as a role-playing game setting. And, it's sort of the retro nostalgia about it. I mean, is there a market for a game about a, future that was predicted in the 80s that has already happened? And when we look out the door and we don't see the world that we were expecting, still want my flying cars. But yeah, I mean, it broke the multi-million-dollar mark on Kickstarter. The sales are out of the roof. It met every goal it had. And I guess there is still some nostalgia for this game, movie, book series, and some just sort of collective unconscious that, the Cyberpunk future never happened. Here we are now at the early days of what could be the Cyberpunk future we were promised in the 80s, happening into 2000s. Who knows where we'll be in 2027, 2030. Maybe this movie will come true. Then, of course, we have Cyborg, the Mork Borg Cyberpunk hack. This one also broke the $1 million high sales thing for Kickstarter. It comes to you from the people who brought us Mork Borg, the tabletop role-playing game of the year. What was it, 2 years ago? But instead of it being fantasy, it's cyberpunk. If you can't get much more grim and self-destructive and end of the world than Mork Borg, you're cyberpunks in the world of cyberpunk. But in addition to that, you add the Mork Borg timer of, the world's going to end. Then we had Escape from New York, a expansion for the Everyday Hero system. Is Escape from New York cyberpunk, though? Or just, dystopian future? Snake Plissken could definitely be a cyberpunk character. The idea of just the world falling down to the most base of, gangs and tribalism and turning an entire city into a jail. Those are all ideas that are cyberpunk. But if I looked at, movies I consider the top movies of the cyberpunk genre, I wouldn't put Escape from New York in it. I would just put it in like the dark future, nebulous future genre. But also Escape from New York took place in 2018, right? 2016. I'm just going to go and say that New York looks nothing like that. Then we have Altered Carbon, the role-playing game based upon the Altered Carbon TV show, based upon the Altered Carbon books. This was on Netflix. I watched every season of it and the anime. Love the world of Altered Carbon. Even a lot of it doesn't make sense. How do the things work? And this is another one that broke, $1 million and had the source books and stuff like that. And generally there is an audience for people who want to play in that cyberpunk world. Is Altered Carbon cyberpunk? Very much so. Then we had Tokyo Otherscape, which was based upon City of the Mist, which was based upon Powered by the Apocalypse. It's a mythic cyberpunk RPG games. It made 274,000 anime cyberpunk feel with magic. So think Shadowrun. Looking like it's going for an Appleseed 66 type feel here. Yeah. So that's definitely cyberpunk. Then we got Coyote and Crow, you were not cyberpunk. Then we had Cyberpunk from Mongoose Publishing. And we had Shield Maidens, the Viking cyberpunk tabletop role-playing game from Mongoose Publishing. We had Cyberpunk from Cabinet of Curiosities. And we had Gene Funk 2090 from CRISPR Monkey Studios. And we had Montoopolis Cyberpunk from Matthew Allah Publishing. These are all Kickstarters that were around the below the million mark, but in the high thousands. So these are the next tier cyberpunk. But again, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 more cyberpunk games that came out during that time period. Then we have Misspent Youth / Fall in Love Not in Line. About 16, 20,000. Misspent Youth and Misspent Youth Fall in Love Not in Line. Not cyberpunk. We had Caper Cyber from Nerdburger Games, which was a superpowered gangbusters during the Prohibition. They took that into cyberpunk, so superpowered gangbusting in a post cyberpunk world. That one was currently kickstarted at 21,000. So yeah, look, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 and a half, 11, 12 games that we instantly know of without really digging deeper. There's probably more, but these are all, major sellers on Kickstarter. These are all $1 million, multi-million dollar bank, or 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 bank, or even 10, 15,000. These are all Kickstarters that have met their necessary to get printed, and probably met also most of their expansion goals as well. And they're all basically the same genre. Chipping in, man. Cyberpunk, riding the edge, live fast, die young, leave a recognizable corpse so the trauma team knows who you are. Right? Why? Well, I think we already went over that, but at the end of the day, I don't know. I could speculate why the cyberpunk genre has experienced such a resurgence, but I don't know. Maybe it's simply because they got Keanu Reeves to be the main character in the video game, and people are like, I love Keanu. Or maybe it's because of Netflix Edge Runners thing. Sure, some of these came out before Netflix Edge Runners. So how are they influenced by Netflix Edge Runners? It could still have been influenced because, cyberpunk has always been a subgenre in anime forever. And between the time Cyberpunk Edge Runners on Netflix was announced and produced, there was like a 2-3 month gap in there. And you could easily pump out a video a game in that gap. God, my brain is not working today. Yes, I'm drinking soda. I'm out of coffee. We need to go to the market and get coffee. So what do you think, chums? Are you out there within the sound of my voice? Hey there, boppers. It's the DJ OGGM reaching out to all my fellow cyberpunks out there on the edge. Was 2022 the year of cyberpunk? Do you look across the blasted landscape here of Southern California and go, yeah, this looks exactly what I expected the future to look like in 1984. Yeah. Where are my flying cars, goddammit? I'm the OGGM. If you appreciate this nonsense, let me know. If you don't, let me know. Did you pick up any cyberpunk role-playing games in 2022? Do you even care? Let me know. Till next time, like, share, subscribe, support. Buy my merch. Talk to you later.